This is Grandmaster Gamdell with the third thing you need to know to be a great MMA fighter. And the third skill set you need to know is how to do takedowns like a wrestler. If you want to be a world-class MMA fighter, you better be able to take your opponent down to the ground. And not just jump at him and try and push him down, or just figure out some other way to take him down. If you watch MMA fights, you'll see fighter after fighter who has no clue how to take their opponent down. They bend over at the waist and try to lift the man, or hurt their back, or try to do something stupid and wind up getting kneed in the face. There are really only two sports in the world that teach effective takedowns in a combat condition: judo and wrestling. Judo players have some incredible takedowns, but most of them require your opponent to be wearing a gi or a heavy coat or jacket. Judo takedowns don't work as well when you can't grab hold of the gi and hold the opponent. If you watch an Olympic judo match, 70% of the matches, the people get in their positioning on the gi. They reach out and grab, and the other man pushes the hand away until they finally get a hand position. Once they get control of the gi, the match is usually over very soon, and the throws are done very powerfully, and they're very devastating. I can attest to the power of judo throws in two ways. One, I'm a black belt in judo, and I've thrown thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of times. I know what I'm doing, and I know how to do a throw. And I've also been the recipient of throws, and I've actually had my shoulder broken, requiring surgery on my shoulder and a pin, and 6 months to heal. There are a few techniques in the martial art that hurt as much as trying to do a fall from 6 feet in the air onto the hard ground, which is what happens in judo. And if you can pick your opponent up and smash him violently to the ground, you'll win 90% of the fights you're in. The problem arises that in most of the times, not all judo throws not everyone's not wearing a gi or a t-shirt. If you try to set up a throw on a gi, and the people in the street are not wearing a gi, or even a t-shirt, and the people in the MMA ring are not wearing a gi, you're not going to win that fight. So if you only know judo throws, your takedowns will not be as effective as they should be. You definitely should learn some judo throws. But these are not techniques that you need to learn to be a great MMA fighter, although they are necessary. Now it's entirely different in wrestling. My son Teddy is a 4-time state champion, and has been wrestling on a daily basis for 14 years, and he's only 22 years old. He has extensive experience in wrestling and wrestling takedowns. Most of the great MMA fighters have been great wrestlers, but not all. Please let me give you an example of the power of wrestling takedown. In my son's high school, there was a bully that intimidated both boys and girls in the school, and everyone was afraid of him. He made the mistake of challenging Teddy to a street fight at the end of the school day, and a large crowd showed up for the match. The man he was fighting, and I didn't say boy because he was 19 years old, and he weighed about 240 pounds, was a street fighting punk. And very famous for his boxing skills, man. He was a bad boxing dude, man. And when the fight started, he squared off like a boxer and began to move around. And unfortunately, that only lasted about 3 seconds. When Teddy dropped down, picked him up, double attacked him, smashed him to the ground on his head, and then got on top of him and punched him in the face. The bully protested, hey, wait a minute, what's going on? This is supposed to be a fight, this is supposed to be a fight. Not a wrestling match. He said, oh yeah, this was supposed to be a fight. And because it's a real fight, there are no rules. And Teddy understood that. And this was not a play fight where he was going to let the guy box him. This was a real fight, and he was going to teach the guy a lesson. But just to be nice, he let him up again. And the guy squared off immediately again, threw a jab, Teddy dropped down, picked him up, bam, slammed him on the head and knocked him unconscious. The fight was over, the boxer lost. And a boxer will always lose if they can't defend a wrestling takedown. And that's the way it is in most MMA fights. If you have no idea how to do takedowns, you are relying solely on your boxing skills or your karate skills, you don't have a chance against an accomplished wrestler, or even a good jiu-jitsu player who knows wrestling. If you want to become a world-class MMA fighter, you better train with a teacher who knows and understands how to do wrestling takedowns and can teach you not only how to do takedowns, but how to defend against takedowns. Most of the current and former MMA champions like Couture, Liddell, Ortiz were accomplished high school and college wrestlers. Randy Couture and Dan Henderson are Olympic wrestlers. And Randy Couture has said many times he'd much rather have a fighter who was a great wrestler in his camp than a fighter who was a great boxer or karate person. The wrestler knows how to take you down, stay on you, and get the job done. The boxer only knows boxing, and if you take him down, he's done. The karate player only knows kicks and some punches, and you take him down, and he's done. He doesn't know how to defend against them. I suggest you get some books or DVDs on wrestling takedowns and study with them. If your teacher does not know how to teach you wrestling takedowns, find a teacher that does. There are a lot of great books and DVDs out there from Olympic and world champion wrestlers. So there is no reason for you not to learn to do wrestling takedowns. One more thing. You are not going to learn to do great wrestling takedowns in a few days or a few weeks or a few months or even a few years. It takes years to become an accomplished, great wrestling player and do effective wrestling takedowns. This is Grandmaster Gambardella. I'll see you next time.